What happens when a troubled teen meets a rescue dog that's been through just as much? Sometimes healing doesn't come from words, it comes from connection. And today we are stirring the coco on how rescue dogs are changing the lives of troubled teens. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Stir the Coco. Thank you for following us on YouTube, Stir the Coco, and here at BCTV. I would like to give a shout out to all the dogs. We sometimes underestimate how important their contribution is in our world, keeping us safe, fighting criminals, healing, companionship, unconditional love, and the list goes on. The Human Animal Bond Research Institute mentions that youth with at-risk mental health problems concluded that animal-assisted therapy can improve functioning in adolescents who have experienced trauma, including enhanced mental wellness, quality of life, and improved maintenance of long-term mental health conditions. Also, in a study of canine visitation therapy on pain management in hospitalized children, dogs were found to remind children of life, interests, and relationships outside of the hospital setting. The presence of dogs during blood-drawn procedures can reduce distress in children. In a study of 50 children between the ages of 4 and 11 undergoing a blood-drawn treatment, children with a dog present evidently showed that they had less distress versus children who underwent the same procedure with no dog present. Today, we are talking with Amy, director of the Teacher's Pet organization. She is changing lives by pairing at-risk youth with rescue dogs. Let's go join her. Amy, welcome to Stir the Coco, and we're so happy you're here. And we're gonna, well, first of all, we want to know if you could take us through your personal journey, how you got to work with your two loves, because I know you talked about your two loves, which are kids and dogs. Yeah. Tell us about your journey.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's a long story, so I'll do my best to condense
it. No, please, we want to hear.
Yeah, it started back, I was working at Michigan Humane Society, early 2000s, and I worked closely with the Pet Education Center, which was dog training for people in the community. So as I was working with my colleague there, she came up with this idea. She said, I really want to do something with kids and dogs, and I'm not sure what that looks like. So I said, I will look into it. So I reached out to every organization that had anything to do with kids and dogs across the country and in Canada, and asked, what do you do, what works, what doesn't work, all the things. And then just in networking with people, came up with our Teacher's Pet program. I spent a week out in Oregon for, it's Project Pooch, as they were one of the first to start this type of program, and they were based out of McLaren Residential Detention Facility. So I spent a week with them and learned how they operate. So I was able to incorporate a lot of their model, which had already been shown to be effective, and in their case, reduce recidivism and whatnot. So bringing that back here, I had a master's in teaching, but when I started working with the kids in the high school, it was an alternative high school, and then I realized I didn't really know as much about this population of kids. So I ended up going back for a master's in counseling so that I could understand them and tweak the curriculum a little better so that it worked for them.
Yeah.
Right. So in the meantime, while I was working with Michigan Humane, I also became a dog trainer. So I figured if the kids need to learn how to do it, I should probably learn how to do it as well. So I've been practicing as a therapist, as a dog trainer in different shelters, but that kind of led us there. And we started at the alternative high school, Kingsley Montgomery in Waterford. And from there, when I did my internship, counseling internship at Camp Oakland, it was Crossroads for Youth then, and I was able to bring the dog program there. So again, we got to experiment with how we ran the program. So there's been some modifications along the way, and then we just have expanded to different programs in different locations, and whatnot along the way. So,
Fascinating. And what is the motto or the mission? Like, what do they want to accomplish with your program?
yeah, mainly hope, empathy, perseverance. I mean, and those words came from the kids. Those weren't necessarily words that we said, as we would. We always ask the kids on toward the last day of class, what's something that they're proud of, what did they learn, what could we do better, and what's something that they gained. And then we did an actual study with the National Institute for Health
Yes.
back in 2012, and the kids all had an exit interview with we partnered with Wayne State University, and the researchers who interviewed the kids would ask, what did you gain from the program? And the themes that came up, there were actually four. There were hope, perseverance, empathy, and patience. So we kind of have taken it from there. The hope, empathy, and perseverance is, we like them. So that's kind of been our motto, if you will.
And if you had to pick one of those three, which is one that you see the kids come out with most?
Right. Well, it's tough because they're all
interconnected.
right. That's the typical answer, right? But I would say hope has to be on top, and mainly because a lot of times the youth in these situations, they don't have long-term goals or plans for themselves. A lot of times they think, I'm lucky if I live to see 24, so they don't think long-term. So that doesn't prohibit their behaviors, because why bother, right? I can engage in risky and dangerous behaviors because who knows when my time is going to come.
Absolutely.
So from there, having hope, and they could see that in the dogs, like the idea of the dogs being locked up, as the kids refer to themselves, and they get to see, okay, well, if the dog can change, then maybe I can change. So there's hope for a better future, right? So that idea that they can have hope, and as a counselor, all through our counseling program, we are dispensers of hope. That's what you do as a therapist. If somebody doesn't think that they can be helped, why bother? There's no need in that. But I think close second would be empathy, right? Because if you are not empathic, you don't think about other people when you injure, hurt, harm, take from. So by instilling empathy, which is difficult, you can't just teach empathy and be more empathic, you have to experience it. So by bonding and connecting with their dogs, they're able to experience empathy in a different way. So.
Oh, that's fascinating. And when they're working with the animal, the dogs, are they assigned a certain animal, or do they work with different ones? How do they create that connection?
Yes, we have a set of dogs. So if we have anywhere from 6 to 10 kids that will work together at a time. Okay. If we have 6, we'll typically work with 6 dogs. If we have any more than that, we'll pair them up because it's just too many dogs to keep track of.
Okay.
And so there's any number, 5 to 3 to 6 dogs, I should say. And we try to keep the same dogs for each 10-week session. Okay. In order to create that bonding mechanism.
Absolutely.
It doesn't always work that way because ultimately we want the dogs to get adopted, and if they have a chance to get adopted, of course we will let them. Oh. But if they're able to select their dog, so the first week of class they learn how to read dog body language. So that's all done through videos and presentations. We have a workbook, and then they meet the dogs the second day, and then they have to write out, there's a scoring form, and they say, I want to work with this dog for this reason. And then the facilitators get together, and they're okay, how do we pair them up? And we try to pair them up with the dogs that they are most interested in.
Yeah, they feel a connection.
Yeah, but it doesn't always work. And what's interesting is sometimes the dogs that they pick, or they don't get to work with the dogs they pick, but the dogs they end up with, where they're initially a little disappointed, we'll say, they always end up really loving and having a great time with the dogs that they're with and learning a lot from those dogs. And sometimes the frustrations that they see in their dogs are really their own mirror, right? That's their reflection.
Wow.
So like, oh, my dog doesn't listen to me, like that must be how my teacher feels about me, or my dog doesn't trust me, and I work with my dog more and now he's starting to trust me, so maybe my mom will trust me if I keep working with her. So they pick up things from their dog that are really unique, that we couldn't get, that I couldn't get to as a therapist, or another therapist couldn't get to, or youth specialist, but it just allows the kids to see themselves that way. So,
what an amazing connection. So, from the aspect of the dogs, why are dogs, such a helpful tool in this process? What do the dogs bring? What qualities separates them?
Right. Well, I think anybody who's a dog lover or a dog liker, or as a human being, we're naturally attracted to other living things. I mean, we kind of have to be as social beings. So we generally have an interest in animals anyway. And then things happen and sometimes people end up not liking them or whatnot. But most people view dogs as pretty innocent and they like everyone, which isn't always true, but they act that way. They have that persona that they're very friendly, and when the youth work with the dogs, they're not judging them, right? So, say you're working on commands or cues. We use cues now, not commands. But the dog isn't saying, you're doing a bad job, you are not explaining it to me right. Like, there's nothing about what the youth is doing with the dog that the dog is going to judge. The dog just says, wags his tail, I'll have a treat, thank you, this is great, and they keep moving on. So it allows them to connect in that way, and not all youth in this setting are, I'll say, valued as highly in society. There's a lot of misconceptions about the youth, and while they did that, they deserve to be where they are, and that's not always true.
No.
They don't always come to make those choices on their own.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they're
just their environment that they can control.
Exactly.
Yes,
So there's a lot that goes on, and a lot of trauma, and a lot of abuse, neglect, witness to violence, a lot of experiences that lead to this idea that the future is not forever and it's not safe. And so having this dog who's there every single week, every time, consistently, the dog is excited to see them. The dog doesn't care that the youth got in trouble or has poor grades or has acne or anything that they feel judged by in society. So that allows them to experience that joy, and it's done at the physiological level too. So
yes, like what's happening in a child's brain when they're experiencing this human and animal connection? What's the brain aspect of it?
So the act of skin-to-skin contact, so petting a dog, holding hands with a human, right? That skin-to-skin contact releases oxytocin, a neurotransmitter in the brain, which then reduces the amount of cortisol. So the youth who are in detention, they're watched 24 hours a day. They are held accountable for every moment. So their stress buckets are full. So they tend to operate at a high
fight or flight mode, right?
Survival all the time.
Mode? Yes.
All the time. So
my goodness.
by working with the dog, and now the oxytocin is released, the cortisol is lowered, they can breathe a little bit. So their inhibitions go down, their anxiety goes down, their blood pressure goes down a little bit, and now they can they can empty their bucket a little bit, right? So when they go back into the unit, they tend to engage in the negativity less, they are less aggressive, they just get along with their peers better, and the staff will note it, the youth will note it. So it's just really a powerful physiological experience.
So do you have some personal success stories where you've witnessed it and gone, wow, I was not expecting this to work that well?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, there's 100 stories, and every one of us has
share one with us.
Stories.
We love a good story here for our Coco, our brain.
Yes. There's. I'm trying to think which one I want to go with first.
Gosh. Wow.
So, one of my first ones that I experienced was a youth who was, again, this is years ago, and he was the kind who had the black hair and black eyeliner and black nail polish and
kind of goth, or
I don't know what the new term is, but yes, that, and he was very quiet, like didn't say anything, had a hard time, always walked with his head down, kept his hair kind of brushed over his eyes, and when he started working with the dogs, he somehow was magic with the dogs, and he was able to get his dog to do pretty much anything. And so the other kids started saying like, hey, could you work with my dog too, and will you help me? So that he got to be seen as worthy and beyond to himself. I mean, he was always worthy to us, but worthy to himself, and that he has value. And he had said to the principal toward the end of the time we were together, he said, you know, I always thought I was this horrible kid, and he said, and working with the dogs let me see that I'm not. And that's something, again, as a therapist or a teacher, you could say that all day, even as a parent. No, you're great, you're wonderful, you have so much value to the world. Nah.
No.
But now I'm seeing it every day. I'm experiencing it every time we're together, and other people are acknowledging it too.
Wow.
So not only was he able to engage positively with his dog,
absolutely,
but with the other youth in the class. So now they're talking to him in the hall, hey, how are you? Where before, they didn't because they were a little intimidated by him.
Absolutely. So. Oh my gosh.
That was one. I mean, there's one.
Oh my gosh, it's a great story. And these, I mean, it's a lifelong thing. This is shaping
for sure
these young people.
If I can share another,
please give us another one. Bonus, everyone.
Yeah, bonus. So one of the youth in the detention facility, he was kind of known for, I'm going to say, being a little bit condescending to his peers. You know, he was very smart and he did know a lot, but it didn't come across well to his peers. So they gave him a hard time, and he felt a little ostracized too. So he was in the program, and he was in the program with us for a while, and he said one day, he said, you know, Miss Amy, how we have to talk to the dogs in a certain way and in a certain tone, and I said, yeah. And he said, well, I thought maybe I could try that with my peers and see if it works. And he said, and you know what, it did. So by changing how he was speaking to them, they responded better to him. So
result.
Right. So he, again, not something that I could say, hey, just talk differently to them. But he was like, oh, this worked here, and my dog is responding to the way that I speak, so maybe it'll work. So he got to take ownership of his own treatment, we'll say, and apply it. It worked. So then I apply it again because it works, right? The feedback loop is positive. But again, it's something that we could reach because of the interactions with the dogs and not necessarily in therapy.
That is, how rewarding is it? So you go to work every day. I mean, no, you said it's a very humbling experience. And
it is.
Do you really walk out every day going, wow?
Yeah.
Tell me how your experience.
Sometimes, I'm sure as you know, sometimes you walk out like,
don't ask me on a Friday.
Right. Sometimes this is how, I guess, I'm going to say our cycles typically run.
Yes.
And most of our facilitators will say the same thing.
Yeah, tell us.
The first few weeks, as everybody gets used to each other and working together and how they have to interact and just getting acclimated to us as a team, it can be challenging, right? So it's a little challenging, but still, it is rewarding when you see them with their dogs. Like, I'm not saying that it's terrible the first.
No. But it's setting the tone and
so we do a lot of that in the beginning, and then we start to see their personalities, and I guess you could say we're establishing a baseline in the beginning. So we don't really know what to expect. Sometimes they start out, they sit well and they're nice and behaved, and then they get more comfortable, and then
things
stuff
come out.
comes out. Right. Yes. So we have that cycle, and then oftentimes the ones that are the most challenging end up being the ones that are our favorite. Those are the turns that you see. You're like, oh, this one's so frustrating.
So that stimulates your Coco. Does it just
all the time?
Totally, really.
Yeah, and so we would
mindset.
Yeah, so we debrief after our sessions, and we'll get together like, okay, what worked, what didn't. This was so frustrating, but always that feels so good. So even if you're having a rough day and you're rushing across town to try to get there on time, and the kids might be acting up, the dogs might be acting up, each other might be annoying, and then we leave and we go, oh, I'm so glad that I went, right? and
yes,
even thinking
yes.
that prior, I don't know if I have the energy to do this today.
But something happens that
Something happens
makes you-
every single time.
Really? So you keep going, Miss Amy.
Yes, absolutely.
And so if someone is struggling to find purpose in what they're doing, like the students that you've had that have challenges, what recommendation can you give someone to find more meaning and purpose in their lives, whether it's just by themselves or adding an animal to the piece, to the challenge? What would you recommend?
It can be tough, right? Because on days when everything feels down and hard and challenging, and no matter what I try, it doesn't work, or I do try and I'm met with disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. We always try to focus on, so we try to start all of our sessions with the youth with kind of a temperature. What's something that you, how do you feel today? What's a color? If you were a color, what color would you be today? If you had something, someone that you could have dinner with that, living or dead, who would it be, right? So we try to come up with something and lead that into a conversation about something that's, I don't want to say, we don't do a gratitude exercise, but it mimics a gratitude exercise. And finding gratitude not only changes your perspective, but doing that on a regular basis changes the structure of your brain too. So seeking that allows you to look for that, right? If we're only looking at the negative, because that's all we've been experiencing, it's hard. So taking some time and focusing on the positive things, let's look at what you did today. That was amazing. What are you proud of today? Finding little bits of gratitude. And we have one story that we share pretty much with every group of kids. So we had Nicole, one of our facilitators, was working with our youth, and this youth was having a really bad day, and she asked something good. Give me one little glimmer of something that happened today, and he's like, nothing. And she's like, there's got to be something. And he said, nope, nothing. And she's like, come on, one thing, just one thing. He said, absolutely nothing. So she said, I don't know, what'd you have for breakfast? And he said, and he smiled and he goes, pancakes. He goes, I had pancakes. Yeah, that's my joy today.
Oh my God, just
so
like
that little. So now that's the thing. What's your so now what's your pancake?
Oh,
what's
I love that.
What's your pancakes? And it's just that one thing, and it just starts to again train your brain to. We don't always have to stay here on the negative side. We can stay over here on the glimmery side once in a while.
So great. We got to remember that. You're right. And like you said, something small. We always think it's got to be really big.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be big. It could be the fact that you could take a breath, or that it's warm outside, or any number of things, but just leaning that way. And most of the kids will say their dog. Oh, I'm just so happy to see my dog today. Or sometimes even it will prevent them from misbehaving because they think, oh, if I hit this kid like I want to, I can't go work with my dog today, and then my dog doesn't have anyone to train him today, and then that's going to affect his ability to get adopted. So it teaches them too how to stop and think about their actions.
So that little piece.
Bit.
Well, that's so rewarding. Well, it's so exciting what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really, I mean, I don't think many people realize what the human and animal connection can do. So much for them mentally and even physically.
Absolutely.
Like you mentioned. Any last words before we hit the manzana?
No.
Yes.
I guess if I could.
Yes.
Obviously, shelter animals, kids in detention, people with experiences that are different from our own.
Yes.
Being careful not to judge. And it's hard because we have this idea, and it happens all the time. The frustrating kids, the dogs are misbehaving, and we take time to kind of consider what's going on behind the scenes, what's happening, what happened to them. The kids coming in crabby. There was a kid one day that came in head down, wasn't talking, short answers, and instead of getting upset about it, I said, what's going on with you today? And he's like, I'm just hungry. Okay, what do you want? And he said, I don't know. And I said, no, anything in the world, what do you want? And he said, Coney Island. Oh. I said, done. So I ran to Coney Island. The whole class got Coney Island, but it was something that, like, if you're hungry, it's going to affect your whole day.
Absolutely.
So instead of saying, put your head up, quit behaving that way. Right. Why are you doing that? Why are you talking like that? Don't be disrespectful to me. It's, how about what's going on?
And his need wasn't being met.
His need was not being met.
Yeah.
So,
I applaud you for looking at that, and I think many people don't take that moment.
It's hard to, right?
It is.
It's hard to sometimes.
But in the end, it makes such a difference.
It always does. Approaching
right
it
there
with curiosity instead of judgment.
Yes. No, it's exciting.
Hard to do.
It is.
I mean,
Oh,
that's so hard to do.
Oh, yeah, they're buds. And so that is good for our brain. Absolutely doing good. Our brain loves it.
Thank you.
So thank you. Well, we have a minute, and we're going to open. We have every guest. We ask them just a little question.
Okay.
And just kind of fun, and then I teach you a little Spanish word.
Oh, awesome.
Because we're all about a little Spanish in here.
I love it.
So here we go, Miss Amy.
Yes.
Okay. Be honest. Who has more attitude, dogs or teens?
Ooh, what about teenage dogs?
Okay, that's a great one. So teenage dogs, huh?
Sure.
Well, that's good. Well, your phrase is going to be, I believe it. Lo creo.
Lo creo.
Oh, qué buena pronunciación. ¿Hablas español?
Un poquito.
Ay, qué bien. Oh, we could have done this interview in español.
No.
We can redo it. Bueno, thank you so much for being on the show,
thank you so
Amy,
much.
And you did really just bringing awareness, and obviously everyone can check out your organization,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And,
FuturesPetMI.org.
super easy. We'll link it in the show notes.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Adios.
Adios.